Hi, by now you know who I am. I'm Dennis Hudson at OrangePond.com, here to talk with you about KingMakerForex. This is a training video, and I'm going to jump right into a couple of important tools that come with KingMaker. One is a regular type of indicator, and the other is a statistical tool. But first, just for a couple seconds, I want to point something out here. This screen that you've been seeing showing 21 precision entry-exit indicators is actually no longer true. The fact of the matter is that there are now actually 120 precision entry-exit indicators, and I'll come back to this and explain it later. Right now, so stick with me if you want to know more about that. Right now, let's just jump into the indicator and statistical usage part of KingMaker. Okay, right off, for purposes of this video, this is called KingMaker-12, and that's going to be renamed. If you already have KingMaker, it's going to be in your package under a different name, but for the video, we're calling it KingMaker-12. Now, you can see that green swatch tells you just what kind of move you got out of this indicator and how well it paid off for you on the long side. But you'll also notice that there are some vertical blue and red lines on here, and that's because I want to be very straight about this indicator, as I try to be with everything with KingMaker. Those red lines are places where the indicator did not tell you that something in reversal was coming at you in a big way. So it means basically that this indicator has to be used, and this is part of the training, has to be used with a pretty good stop loss. But if you notice in that green move, the green background there towards the left, you actually made on that move about 350 pips on that move before the unexpected happened, and the unexpected was dealt with by a stop loss. So if you lost 40 or even 50 pips on the stop loss, you have to balance that against the gain that you already made of about like I say, 350 pips. That yellow candle that's circled, that doesn't count in your gain because that's the signal. That's indicating where this indicator crossed its signal line, and all the blue lines are telling you where these things, these events take place. So, you can use it this way. Just keep a good stop loss on KingMaker-12, and you should do just fine, because you do get typically at least 2 candles, and sometimes, like in that green swatch, you can get, what's that, a half dozen more, about 8 good candles out of it. Okay? And by the way, again, for training purposes, in your package it does tell you that this particular indicator is keyed far better for certain currency pairs than it is for others. So just check that list, and maybe you'll find other pairs where it also works, but we know that on certain pairs it works best. Now this next slide I'm going to show you is in fact a statistical profile of Forex pairs, and it's jaw-dropping. You'll really love this. I had to ask myself, what do we really need as Forex traders? And like I say, it is jaw-dropping. I hope you have a full screen up on your YouTube. There's a little button in the lower right that you click so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, first off, as I say, it's a statistical survey and profiling of 28 Forex pairs. This is the list of those pairs right here. And I will be coming back to this slide later when I explain the difference in the number of indicators. And here it is, the absolute jaw dropper here. This is not Well, it's an indicator, but it's not a trading indicator. This is a timing indicator. You will notice, starting at the upper left, and this is done for all 28 pairs. What you have is 4 dimensions of each pair, and there are many, many dimensions in price. Okay, so this is just 4 of them, but these are the 4 that I considered most important to us as traders, or the most readily useful. Okay, the pair name is blacked out because I'm not giving away freebies here. Okay, or it's redded out, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The way this works is, in that first block at the top, there's a blue line and then there's a yellow line underneath that. It identifies the exact hours when, according to our survey, which was involved for the hourly, it involved about a month of data during 2014, and it shows you that, and we set a value. We said, okay, let's figure out where you can get a candle that on the hourly that is at least 19 pips high to low. Okay, and that identifies it. 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. That was the tightest clustering that we could come up with. And you had 9 instances of it at 6 a.m. and 4 at 7 and 4 at 8. Now, when you sit back and think about this, you're talking, roughly 22, anywhere from 20 to 22 trading days per month, depending on whether or not there's a holiday. And I believe in that month we had 1 holiday, so it's probably about 20 or 21 days of hourly data. And so if you were to sit down from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. In the morning, this is New York time, of course, to trade this pair, you would stand a very good chance of finding a 19-pip high to low candle. The next row below that is, that's the evening for the same thing, 8 and 9 p.m. But below that first red bar, we get into the body of the candle. See, it's not just high and low, and we have newbies who are coming in and looking at this, and so I will explain why it's important to know both the high to low and the body of the candle. Anyway, this is from open to close, the absolute value of that, and we set a value of at least 16 pips. And there are the numbers right there in front of you, and this is set up to be very, very visible at a glance. It's like a heads-up type of thing. I couldn't stop there. I went on and researched dates, and you see that below the blue line, and we're talking again high to low and body of the candle, and you can see the numbers, okay? Because I realized suddenly that there are people who trade entire days. They don't just come in and try and knock off a few hours. So that is the really a major jaw dropper in KingMaker, and the way that you use this, you can use the dates together with the hours, but you don't really combine them. Okay, you can use them at the same time, but you never want to conflate them, and this is part of your training. For example, let's say we're sitting there and it's the 12th of the month, and we look up and we say, well, the biggest candles today are going to be 6, 7, 8 a.m. That may or may not be true, but the real point is those candles may be moving in a direction opposite from the way KingMaker is telling you in its indicators that the day is going to move. So it's really important not to conflate the two, and to always read them separately. You bring up the hourly chart, you run a KingMaker indicator or two, you get an idea of the hourly direction. On the daily, you do the same thing, except you use a daily chart. Do not conflate them, or you probably will have problems. Now, I said because they're newbies who might not understand the value of this, if you know the high to low and the body of the candle, it puts you in a much better position to decide on entry and exit. Alright, so if you see that the candle is already stretched to the average size for that period, then you know you aren't really, there's not much more room, much more headroom or leg room for you to trade that. On the other hand, conversely, that is, if the candle is still tiny, then it gives you an idea that you've got more headroom or leg room as you need. Now, this was a very exhaustive analysis, and by the way, in the dates, you see that one that runs 10th through the 15th. Most of them are actually a lot shorter than that. It's like 2 or at most 3 days grouped together. But this one just happens to be this way. And note that body of candle and high to low don't always match up. If you look at the hourly, you can see that. If you look at the daily, the dates of the month, you can see the same thing. Sometimes they match up and sometimes they don't. And that's one great value of statistical surveys and analysis, is seeing these kinds of facts, so you don't make erroneous assumptions and trade wrong with something. Now, let's say, and KingMaker comes with, as you know, a spreadsheet tutorial, as well as a tutorial on how to write simple KingMaker code, which is really elegantly simple code to write. But let's say you don't want to use that, a spreadsheet. Maybe you're allergic to spreadsheets. As simple as we've made it, maybe you're allergic to them. Okay, that's fine. There's something else you can use to change the minimum candle size that you want to hunt for. Okay, I mean, on this one you've got 19, 16, and then you've got 99 and 80 pip candles that you're hunting for. That's a very subjective view on my part in setting this up. You may want bigger or smaller candles on your radar, okay? And as I say, if you're allergic to spreadsheets or coding or anything, there is another way that we provide for you to do it old school. And here that is. There's a little piece of code. We tell you how to load all the KingMaker codes into Thinkorswim at TD Ameritrade, which is the only place you can use KingMaker. And you load this one little code. It's not really an indicator. What it is a spotter or a hunter type of algorithm. And you look at the arrows and you find out what times or what dates these arrows occurred on. And this is after you have set the size candle you want to look for in the code. It's real easy to do. You just type in a different value. And then you run the code. You count up the candles and you look at the times or dates, and then you do your own analysis. And that's for people who just can't stand spreadsheets, okay? Now, that pretty much concludes today's trading lecture, indicator lecture, training piece. I want to go back now to why the change from 20 indicators or whatever it was to 120 and explain exactly what went on. Alright, as you saw a few moments ago, the statistical survey and profiling of the various pairs, when I started out, what I was thinking was to run that kind of data analysis on a certain number of pairs and just do the hourly, okay? And that produced a certain number of indicators. After that, I realized that, I need to go ahead and do not only the high to low, but I also need to do the open to close, And then I realized, well, I need to do the daily with the same thing. So you got 28 pairs and 4 dimensions. That's 112. I don't know if I should call them indicators or their precision, that's for sure. But they're telling you when you're going to get the best bang for you. You should get the best bang for your buck statistically. So that bumped it all up, and we have basically 8 dynamic indicators of the type that you're used to, except they're specially designed for KingMaker. We got about 8 of those, plus the 112 of the timing indicators that you saw. Now, by the time you get KingMaker, once it's on sale, there may be more than 8, but really you don't need that many entry-exit indicators, of the type like that look like MACD or RSI, that kind of thing. You don't need more than 8, and each one's kind of for a different environment, and certain ones are for certain pairs. But we may add to it, and I don't foresee KingMaker adding more than maybe another half dozen or so. It just doesn't make sense to do that. So again, to use the indicators that we've shown you here today, you want to use the KingMaker dynamic indicators to give you direction, and then the statistical profiling to tell you when to sit down at your computer. And that's going to pretty much wrap up today's lesson. And actually, I want to give you a reminder, those of you who do not yet have KingMaker, this is what you'll need to run it. You go over to TD Ameritrade or thinkorswim.com and open a demo account or a real account. There's no minimum to open, and I recommend you get a real account at TD Ameritrade, because that will enable you to use their scanner. The demo account will allow you to use all the KingMaker algorithms, but the real account will allow you to use the scanner, so you can scan and limit your scan just to the Forex market. Okay? Alrighty, here's who I am, and as soon as we can get all this stuff packaged up and good to go, we'll put KingMaker on sale, and I'll do a authentication video with real trading, and you will get to see how well KingMaker works. Thank you again for coming by.